Hello everyone and welcome back to Unboxing Theories. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about Louis. The next era in History of Kingdom is going to be Louis's chapter, which is very exciting. All we've gotten so far, just as always, is a little teaser of what's ahead for us. And I was quite surprised, I'm not going to lie. First we see a garden of roses and a huge gate overgrown with roses, and then a wide shot of the grounds of the beautiful French-style palace, and it's nighttime with a big moon. Then we get a shot inside with Louis standing near a window with a glass in hand. The wine glass appears to have something red inside, and it is heavily implied that what is in his wine glass is blood. Louis sips the wine and then lets out a sigh of relief or pleasure, and that's it. Of course, two things ran through my mind. Vampire? Curse? We know curses follow the kings through each chapter, so is Louis's curse a vampiric one? Another thing I think that is important to note is how barren the kingdom appears, even if we're just seeing the palace grounds at night. It seems desolate, and I wonder if because of Louis's curse that he's locked himself up to protect himself from his subjects that would not accept such a king. Or is he protecting his people from himself? One thing to note about the gate that we saw is that it's overgrown with roses, which means the gate is essentially unused, so people are not going in and out of the palace. In terms of the story progression, I'm trying to decide where this one might fall. I won't fully know until it's actually released, but as I've said in the past, I think the narrative of History of Kingdom is not entirely obvious. I think Arthur's chapter could potentially be the final chapter of History of Kingdom, and I think Louis's chapter could be an earlier one. My main reasoning for this is because I think it would be pretty obvious and dangerous for Louis to be suffering from a vampiric curse during the events we've seen so far. He seems to be hiding himself away in his palace as well, so perhaps until the curse is lifted or whatever events happen in the music video when we finally see it, but once that curse is lifted or he's saved by the other kings, then he can join them because he feels safe that he won't hurt them. We know from Arthur's chapter that Louis is a bit magical, and I wonder if we'll see that in his chapter, but at the very least this curse is certainly going to be a downer for him. I also predict that, following the theme we have seen in History of Kingdom, aside from Arthur's chapter, I am very sure that we're going to see Louis's kingdom fall. I can't imagine a vampire king would be well loved, and that could be the main reason for his big gate and isolated palace, but I could easily picture a scene like something out of Beauty and the Beast where all the townspeople make their way up to Louis's palace with pitchforks and torches to kill the beast. You know what I mean? Definitely getting some vibes that we'll be having a scene like that, and that would very clearly follow the theme we've seen of kingdoms being lost or drastically changed. We know from previous chapters that there is a dark entity that is trying to destroy the kings, or perhaps many dark entities trying to do this, and it comes across in many different ways, and some less obvious than others. In Arthur's chapter, we see the evil that is actively pursuing him, even if it might not always take an appearance of a dark entity. In Karma, I think Chiu's reckless decision-making could have been influenced by something beyond his knowing, but also I stand by the belief that Chiu was protecting the kings in his kingdom, likely from the darkness beyond. But unfortunately, he lost his kingdom anyway, and the protection of it. In Ivan's chapter, we get a very good look at the dark entity that possesses the Black Crown, and in turn possesses Chaos Ivan. And in Dan's chapter, the bodyguard's jealousy, plus Ivan's potential meddling in affairs, caused a great shadow to fall over Dan's kingdom. Even Dan himself fell into shadow because of all of the loss he had suffered. He no longer would be the peaceful king, but he would return everything to its original state. So I believe we have seen this great evil many times, just some more obvious than others. I think for Louis it will be more obvious, as I believe he's going to be actively dealing with his curse. From the teaser, it doesn't seem like he's having a hard time with his curse, and may even be enjoying it. I think this chapter may be quite dark, which isn't something new to the series. This is going to be my final theory on what we may see in Louis's chapter. I think Louis is going to be alone in his kingdom, and part of that reason is because his curse caused him to consume everyone in his palace, all of his servants, and anyone else. The other kings are safe, maybe they narrowly avoided it, or arrived late to the scene, or perhaps are being charmed by Louis's vampire abilities. Maybe Louis remembers himself enough that he can control his hunger around them, but he wasn't able to around his servants. This monstrous behavior could also result in the revolt of his kingdom against him, but regardless of what we see, I think his people turning on him is going to be an inevitable story beat. So those are my very scattered and very quick thoughts on Louis's chapter from the tiny teaser we got to see, and from knowing where History of Kingdom has gone before. Tragedy follows his story, except for Arthur's chapter, so I have no doubt we're continuing down that road for the time being. But let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear where you think Louis's chapter is going and what may happen in this chapter. We all have our own thoughts and we're all excited to see. I personally can't wait to see concept photos drop in the future. You know, obviously we have a while until then, but I'm very much so looking forward to that because oftentimes concept photos are the best teasers of all. But seriously, let me know your thoughts and maybe things you picked up on in the teaser that I haven't gotten to pick up on or whatever else. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So have a good one, guys, and thanks for listening to my theory.